Hello, this is Tim, and this is part 4 of my Hexworld world building project. And this video is going to be talking about your map. Now, some of us are very good at making maps, and others have no artistic skill whatsoever. Don't let this stop you. It can be a very simple thing that you do. As long as it has 6 sides, and they're pretty much equidistant, and you think you got it pretty well laid out, it looks like a hex, then that's good. That's what you need, man. It doesn't have to be very pretty. It's mainly an idea or a tool to be able to give to your players and to be able to just keep straight in your head where everything is. Now remember that this hex is 200 miles across. You can probably go 100 miles up, 100 miles down if you want to think in 3 dimensions. For most of us, though, we're just going to think in 2 dimensions. It's 200 miles across. So the map. What are you going to put in there? What sort of landforms do you want to have in your hex? Do you want your hex to be all water? Do you want there to be one island? Do you want it to be all land with some rivers? Do you want there to be no water at all, and maybe your race doesn't need water? There's lots of different ways that you can take this, and your map can really influence the feel and flavor of the setting. A desert setting is a different feel than a water world setting. A mountainous place like Afghanistan has a different feel than some place that's just like Nebraska. It's just all plains and corn and cows. What sort of feel do you want to bring to your setting? Your little hex. The interesting thing about this is I did this idea before, and whenever we put the hexes together, it would be kind of interesting because there would be like an all water hex right next to a desert hex, and they would sort of mesh in interesting ways whenever they were all said and done. But again, I'm getting too far ahead of myself here. You're making a hex that's going to be isolated for 5,000 years. What sort of, what do you want it to look like? And this is, don't worry about so much about, sort of climate and weather, because that'll come later. Just think about what it looks like. What's there? Is it, it can be a combination of all kinds of different things. It doesn't have to make sense. You can have a section of the map that's very snowy and icy right next to a section that has, lava running down, I don't know, a hill or something. Don't be afraid to push the boundaries and have strange places that, wouldn't exist right beside each other. Because we're dealing with the whims of the gods here. If they want to do anything, if they think it's fun, then they're going to do it, Or if they think it, will test their race in some way, then, So basically, again, you can really do anything you want here. You can have, I don't know. I'm not going to try to influence you in any sort of way. Just come up with something you think is cool. Don't be afraid to mix and match stuff. And don't be afraid to just come up with something that's a little bit weird. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think those are more interesting. So, and when you're designing a map, it's only 200 miles across, so if you want to think about cities and towns, you can. And don't be afraid to just put a dot on the map, like this is a city, this is where this is the town, or there's a couple different towns. Depending on how your culture and stuff is, maybe they don't have towns, maybe they're nomadic. It's just all different kind of things to think about. You don't really have to go into much detail with the towns. You really can just put a descriptive text like this is the city where the jugglers rule, or whatever thing you can come up with. You can flesh that out later. You don't need to. This is kind of an overview. You're only going to have a 10-minute video to respond to it, so just don't be afraid to just kind of hand wave some things. Like okay, there's a couple towns. Here's their names. Maybe, and then maybe that's it. Maybe that's all you want to do. This will be a later video as well, but if you want to, you can use a dead language that you can find online Like for instance, in my Burning Heaven campaign, I used Sumerian. I just found a lexicon, and it just helped me describe things. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you think that just makes it sound weird, you just want to use like English translations, like Spire Rock, or the Red River, or whatever, that's fine. It's really your setting. It's your hex. You can do whatever you want with it. So make a map. Has to look like a hex. Can be black and white. You can do it in paint. You can do it on a piece of scratch paper, on a napkin. It doesn't really matter, as long as it's just you have it in your head, and I don't know, that would be cool. And if you can't, it doesn't really come up too good if you hold it up to the webcam, maybe you can scan it in, or I don't know, you can just describe it in words. That would be fine. Like up here in the north, down here in the south, east, west, etc. So, all right, guys, I look forward to hearing about your landforms of your setting, and possibly a map. All right, the next video is going to be about monsters.